So, hey, what's up on the Rucksack Revolution podcast? And I'm Gene, and this is B.
Hi.
Right, that's B. Arthur. B lives in Tampa, and I didn't tell her how I do podcasts, so I'll just do a quick introduction. But I always leave it to the podcast desk to introduce themselves, because no one can introduce someone better than themselves, right?
Right. Yes, I'm
just going to let you go now. How about that? I'm not even going to do anything. I'm just going to go ahead. Go on, girl.
I'm B. I'm B. I use they, them pronouns. I'm a socialist. I'm an activist. I'm burgeoning as an activist. I'm trying to get more involved in my local scene in Pinellas County.
Now, let people know, where's Pinellas County who don't know Florida?
So, Central Florida on the West Coast.
Now, so you're not in Tampa. I thought you were in Tampa. That's Hillsborough. You're in St. Pete.
I'm in Clearwater. So Scientology Center. Yeah.
How close are you to the beach there?
Depends on the day, but I am about between 5 minutes and 55 minutes away from the beach, depending on what time of year it is.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because some people don't know Clearwater Beach is. I think it's been rated annually. Well, it kind of gets in a beach off.
Yep.
I guess you'd call it with Siesta Key.
Yep.
But it's like supposed to be the best beach in the United States, isn't it?
Yep. It is consistently rated the #1 beach in the U.S. It is gorgeous. I love Clearwater Beach. I'm there. I would have been there a lot more often this summer if it had been safer to be out and about. But
right.
I'm out there.
I'm feeling a little weird about playing this gig tonight, drumming last night, because I'm still like, nah, let's stay in a bunker. But man, it's not often. We were talking about earlier. For y'all who were not on earlier when we weren't recording, which is obviously everybody listening to this.
Yeah.
I've got another gig tonight. I played last night, and I'm drumming again tonight downtown here in Ocala. And yeah, it's kind of weird to me. But on the other hand, I guess I'm just two things I've learned about myself in COVID. One, three things. One, I'll go to the gym, even though at Orange Theory, they're doing a great job. I mean, I will say they don't do like every station now. It's like there's definitely social distancing. I mean, you can go through a workout there and not get close to nobody.
That's
and
good.
It's blazingly hot in there whenever the temperature is over, say, 90 degrees outside, which is, of course, all summer here. Because I think they don't run any of the fans. And you can't run there's that little fan that'll blow on treadmills sometimes, on good treadmills. You're not allowed to have that on. They have they may be running I guess they run the AC, but they don't use like the big fans that kind of helps blow the air around and keep it, normally they have it at a pretty good temp in there. But man, I'm telling you, you get back in the weight part of it in the back, and you'll sweat off weight in there just sitting around. There's that. But the other thing I learned is I guess I'll go play a music gig, even though I probably shouldn't, because I'm I guess I'm just a whore for attention, and I got to play in front of people. Playing in my room with my headphones on just ain't good enough for me. I don't know. But and the other thing I learned is I have summit fever. I had to explain that to someone that do you know what summit fever is?
No.
You know how these people they'll climb Everest, say, right? Mm-hmm. And they're literally really close to the top, like it might just be a couple hundred yards, but they have to be off the top by a certain time because storms come in the afternoon, and if you don't get down there in time, you can die. I mean, that's how more people die coming down because they got to the top too late, right? And so the Sherpa or whoever it is with them will say or they're looking at their own watch and they're like, oh, nope, I'm running a half hour late, I can't do it, and they'll do it anyways and if you think about it, they put all this effort and maybe years of preparation into this. And when I climbed Mount Elbert this summer, which is either this episode of the documentary or next week, I don't remember, but I was about 1,000 feet shy of the summit and was thinking, am I going to make this? And it was only 14,400 feet. But when you're from Florida, that might as well be Mount Everest.
That's a lot. Yeah.
And I got up there as the last person to summit, and I got up there about 30, maybe 40 minutes late. And coming down, luckily, didn't hit any thunderstorms up there above tree line. There were bad ones the day before. It had been the day before, I would have been in a thunderstorm. And there is no cover. I mean, none. Not even big rocks to hide behind. I mean, you are the lightning post whatever,
Yeah.
you know, on that mountain. And I realized that day, I went like, yeah, I get summit fever. I better never climb Everest. I couldn't do it anyways. I smoked 30 years. Anyways, enough of all that. I'm going to show off one thing real quick for y'all, and then we are going to talk. And I was thinking, you know, B, I just want to say, I apologize again about what happened a couple of weeks ago. And if you watch the podcast that came up last night, we talked about this. Me and my friend Warren, he lives in Alabama. He's a big time grassroots organizer in Auburn. And anyways, we talked about some of that, but I'm so sorry you didn't get to speak. And so that's what we're going to talk about today.
Okay.
So we'll just, Mitch asked us, what are you and B going to talk about? And I said, just that we're both, you know, we just are.
Yeah.
So here we go. For those of you who happen to like football, like SEC football, Mitch put this together today. I wanted a mic drop kind of thing that I could do that would run for a few seconds if someone just says something amazing. And I just want to go boom. And here it is, man. Here it is. This is it. Is that not bad? That's Jadeveon Clowney from South Carolina, letting the Big Ten know what's up. He didn't just hit a Michigan player. He hit the whole Big Ten, man. Knocked the helmet off. Like, what was it? Larry Munson, man, the voice of Georgia football for so long. And I'm going to try a Larry Munson thing, eat a little gravel here so I get his voice right. But what he said, Georgia beat Tennessee one time and said, what was it? We stepped on their face with a hobnail boot and broke their nose. That's old time football right there. But anyways, B doesn't like football, and that's okay.
I don't hate it. It's just not my thing.
What is your thing?
I like embroidery.
All right, man. All right. Yeah. Okay. Embroidery.
Yeah. It's reading. I don't watch sports at all.
So like so there's no, like, if you could have one sport that could be on a TV channel 24/7, no commercial breaks, no nothing, and you could just turn on that channel, and at any given moment, that's what you would see is that sport. Is there a sport? Embroidery, is that a sport? Competitive embroidery?
It might sound silly. I'd actually say wrestling. Only because I used to watch it with my brothers.
Like pro wrestling?
Yeah. Like WWE, like ridiculous pro wrestling. But it's so funny and it's so over the top. And I have so many good memories watching it with my brothers. And even now when they come over and they're like, we wanted to watch this wrestling match tonight. It's Hell in a Cell or whatever. I'm like, okay, whatever. And it's always fun. So if I had to pick a sport to watch, it would probably be pro wrestling.
When I was a kid growing up, man, this is before WWE, before they had like the big, what do they call the big once a year, twice a year, they rent like a giant arena and have a WrestleMania. This is before all of that. They had this guy, Gordon Soley, and Gordon was probably like 5'4", so he could it made the guys look bigger, I guess. But it was WWF, I don't know. But it used to be on Saturday afternoon on channel 44, which before we had more than like 5 channels here in Ocala. That was out of Tampa, WTOG, and Creature Feature was on there on Saturday.
Okay.
Star Trek on weekday afternoons after school, and they had wrestling. I think it was on channel 44, and it was like Dusty Rhodes, man, old school. And it looked, if you were to watch it now, it probably looked like they were wrestling in somebody's garage in Pinellas Park. Maybe a big garage, you know, like a warehouse. It's not WrestleMania, man. But I used to watch that with my dad, and that was like, it was Kung Fu I think it was on Saturday. Kung Fu used to come on after the cartoons, after you had to choose between Soul Train or American Bandstand.
Oh, okay.
What were you? Well, this is probably before your time. You know, you're a little younger than I am.
A little younger.
30 years. So. But,
yeah, I was going to say 5 to 10, but yeah.
5 to 10. I'm 57 years old, man. You're not like 40.
I am 31. I am 31.
31. So that's 26 years.
Yep, 26 years.
20. Yeah, I did the math right. See what happens? You go to school to study liberal arts. You learn all about what happened in history, but you can't add shit. I'm proud of myself if I can do a multiplication. Like 7 times 9 is 63. Now I see why they ask older people questions like that to see if they're getting dementia or something. Because I'm really at 57. It's just that I don't use it anymore. I'm going to tell them when I mess it up in my test, when I'm like 90, I'm going to go, look, bro, it's not that I don't know what 7 times 9 is. It's that I've been using my phone to do this crap now. Right. 50 years. So I don't remember it.
So now what they do on that cognitive test is they ask you to count backwards from 100 by sevens.
They gave Trump that test recently, and I saw it online, and I tried that count back by 7. That was the one. I did it okay, but I had to think about it for a second. Yeah. I got 93, and then I was like, 86.
Right. And it'll take you a minute, but it's like you can do it. It just takes a minute.
That's like a sobriety test. That's worse than like do the alphabet backwards. That would be like, that'd be like the cop give you a quadratic equation and a little like Etch-a-Sketch to draw it on or something. Solve for X. Have you been drinking?
Figure out the Pythagorean theorem here. No.
I don't think as many cops can do quadratic equations. Maybe there are a few. I don't know. I have no idea. But so anyways, so right now, you told me a while back you're the Martha Stewart. No, the punk rock Martha Stewart. Was that it? Or that was your goal in life? Defend that. Why are you the punk rock Martha Stewart?
Well, look at me. And then like just today I made homemade I made homemade scratch vegan gnocchi with a vegan pesto and served that with roasted parsnips and purple cauliflower for dinner.
Hang on 1 second. That was the first official boom of Rucksack Revolution history right there. Your dinner. Did you ever expect when you made that dinner that was going to happen because of it one day? No, that you'd have never thought that. I wouldn't have either. And I wish I had photos. I should have taken photos of it. I'll be blunt, man. I used to phrase food porn. Mitch, because Mitch says, tell me about thee a little bit. We were talking on the phone today. And I said, dude, she's like the punk rock Martha Stewart, self-proclaimed. And he's like, say now. And I told him about the, what was it you made? Was it like a blueberry pie? It was kind of like a blueberry crumble with oats and it was all vegan, right? You showed pictures of it. And I was just like, that is food porn right there. That's straight up. Like I was ready to get in the car and come eat that pie. Like it was so, like your food would make someone want to be a vegan.
Yes.
We might say, otherwise I might go veganism. I just don't do it. I can't do the cheese thing, man.
I still
and ice cream, I can go non-dairy, but not cheese.
Oh yeah, I can go non-dairy on ice cream. I can go, eggless is fine. The only thing that I haven't given up 100% is cheese, and I really should. I know I should. I just haven't yet.
It's like cheese is one of my food groups. If I had like 4 food groups, burritos is one. And I'm tempted to make breakfast burritos and regular burritos 2 food groups, but I'm kind of like, nah, that's split. Nah. So, or even a wrap. I think of wrap sandwiches. With that's not flatbread. What do they call that? Like a tortilla, right? It's a tortilla basically. They roll a sandwich in, right? Yeah. So really, one of those like Publix roll-up sandwiches is just a burrito. I don't know what they call them, but it's a ham and cheese burrito. That's what it is.
Yeah, they'll call it a wrap, but it's a burrito.
A wrap. That's the word. Yeah, a wrap. Yeah. Like wraps are just burritos. I'm going to make one. That the guy sitting behind the table says, prove me wrong. I'm going to make one of those. Says, wraps are just burritos. They're like white people burritos or something. Prove me wrong. Gringo burritos. I don't know. But yeah, burritos, anything you can wrap. So wraps, burritos, breakfast burritos, cannolis are wrapped, right? We'll count a cannoli in there. All wrapped things like that. That's a food group.
Yeah.
Cheesecake is a food group.
Yeah.
And then cheese by itself, just cheese. I will go to the store. Like some people go to the store, right? And they get a big Snickers bar. I cannot tell a lie. I will go to a store and just buy one of them like $2.50 things of cheese block, and go out to the car and get out my pocket knife, get out my Gerber and cut that thing open. and I will be driving home, man, eating that cheese like an ice cream sandwich.
That's amazing.
I'm not kidding, man. I'll do it.
I won't do that. I'm not that far, but I do love cheese.
I don't know what my fourth food group would be. I would say IPAs, but I don't drink that much anymore. It could be pizza, but that's not really it. So I'm still, it's anything wrapped, cheesecake, cheese, and I don't know what the fourth food group is yet. Yeah, I would have said Camel Lights at one time, but I quit smoking, so I don't know. Good. I'm not sure. But anyways, hey, so can I just call you Martha?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, it was Martha Stewart right here. I finally got Martha Stewart on my show.
It's a good thing.
So B, what was it you were going to talk about at the little shindig soiree we were going to have here a couple weeks ago in Ocala?
Yeah, I was going to talk about the intersection of mental health and how that blends into Black Lives Matter. I was going to talk about accessibility to mental health, how expensive it can be and how prohibitive it can be, and what happens when somebody's in a crisis and they end up getting Baker acted, and what happens after that point.
Y'all didn't see that coming, did you? That's just like she didn't see that boom coming with her dinner. So what are we really going to talk about? We just went from like just talking about whatever, Martha Stewart, punk rock, to some serious stuff. Yeah, mental health.
It's a very serious topic. But just to start off with, I do recognize that I come from a place of white privilege in this. I really do. But sorry, it's my kid.
It's okay. I'm waiting for the day a cat walks across somebody's face and sticks their butt in their face right in the middle of the interview. I cannot wait for that. That'll get a boom. That will get a boom. That cat will get a boom. Really.
But no, so one of the things that, I mentioned that I was going to talk about is that, I do have insurance. I have really good insurance because of my husband's work. And because of this, my out-of-pocket expenses is about $30 when I go to see the therapist and $10 when I pick up my medication. And I'll actually show you. I have it here. I picked up my
husband. He's in the military, right? He's a staff sergeant in the Army, right? Is he active duty or reserve? Because he got deployed recently, didn't he?
He is an activated reservist. So he is somebody who goes to work every day for the Army, but he is considered to be a reservist.
Oh, he's like one of the ones at the reserve unit who's full-time.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah, activated. Right. Yeah, somebody to watch the shop when the other guys aren't around because it's not the weekend. And yeah, that's cool. That's a good deal. So yeah, you're dependent. I mean, you've got the full Army. You just go and you've got Tampa right there, MacDill. Do you go to MacDill Air Force Base?
No. So actually, because we live in Clearwater, we're considered to be far enough away from MacDill that I don't have to go see a VA doctor.
Oh, that saves the drive.
It saves the drive, and it means that I don't have to drive through Tampa, which is nice.
Driving from Clearwater to South Tampa to MacDill, that would be...
It's a good
your life in your hands doing that. That's a tough drive. Traffic.
It's a good 45-minute drive at least, and just that whole section of town is pretty dicey. So I'm able to go to my doctor, but I'll show you something. So my out-of-pocket was $10. This is for Abilify, and I don't know if you can see this, but insurance saved me $718.
Now Abilify. Now, okay. I am diagnosed bipolar type 1, and I see Abilify commercials. Right. Are you type 1 or type 2?
I'm type 2.
Right on. So, Abilify, I see ads for that. So that's a bipolar medicine, right? Okay. And what did you say it would be a month if you just walked in and paid out of pocket? No insurance? What was it?
With no insurance, it would be insurance saved me $718.19.
And you paid like $10.
My out of pocket was $10.
So it's about $730 a month.
Yep. And I'm not paying that much in insurance. We're not paying $700 a month in insurance, and that's for only one of my medications. The other one is another $100 a month that I'm saved, and it's like a $4 out of pocket cost for me.
See, when I took Lamictal, it was Lamitragine was like 100 and I think it was only supposed to be 146 a month. This was like 10 years ago, 146 a month, and I paid I don't know. With that, my Prozac, I think I paid like basically like 15 or 16, maybe $17 a month. And it would have been, well, the Prozac's nothing. So it would have been about 160 I would have paid. And I'm trying to remember now, my therapist and my psychiatrist worked together. I'd go see the psychiatrist for 10 minutes, then I'd go boom to my therapist. I didn't do a boom on that. We can't overuse the boom as much. I would play that 24/7 on loop. But anyways, that was whatever that was, $300 maybe, $150 an hour for both, I would assume back then. And I think I paid man, I think it might have been $50. I think it was 25 for each that I paid. So instead of 150 for my therapist, I paid 25. And I think my monthly premium, this is when I was a Presbyterian minister, it was like maybe 250 a month. I'm thinking something like that. I couldn't even, man, not pastor now. I don't even have that kind of insurance. Like, I don't really have insurance right now, to be honest. I should, but I was getting chest pains coming back to the gym after being on the road for months. Right. I come back in there trying to, be Superman again. And I literally was getting some chest pains. And I was telling the trainer the other day, I eased it back on how much I'm running. And I told him about it. And he says, check your pulse first thing when you wake up in the morning. If it's high, that's bad, but it's low. So he says, no, you're going to be okay. But he was like, yeah, you need to go get one of those stress tests and everything. I said, dude, what kind of insurance you think I have, dude? People like me aren't allowed to get stress tests. We just have to work till we fall over, like, he says, you're just going to be running on the tread one day and just die. I'm like, yeah, probably. It'll be something I'll kick around like a fish for a couple of minutes, maybe make a scene about it. But yeah, pretty much.
And that's just it. Like, I can go see my doctor and everything with making very few sacrifices, while other people, predominantly Black and brown people who are underinsured or uninsured, they're not able to afford it. So they end up in a mental health crisis because you're bipolar like I am. We've all had manic episodes. We've all had depressive episodes where it goes down.
Shit hits the fan and it's a bad day.
It could be a bad week, but it's a bad time. And so if you don't have any kind of insurance, you're not going to be able to get help for that. What's going to happen is that either you're going to call 911 because you're in crisis, or someone who loves you is going to call 911. And then what happens?
The police show up and they have guns and stuff.
Yeah. Somebody with a gun who is scared, who doesn't understand what is happening, who has no training, little to no training in how to deal with somebody in a mental health crisis, is now it now has the opportunity for it to be, at the best case, a traumatic event. Worst case, it gets deadly. And it gets deadly. And it gets deadly, especially if you're a person of color. So really, when we talk about Black Lives Matter, we need to include mental health in that conversation as well, because it is hugely important. Mental health doesn't care what color your skin is. It's coming for you. But our society does care what color your skin is, and it will treat you differently. And I realize that when I have, a mental health crisis, I'm going to be treated better than my Black neighbor who might have been going through the same thing. And that sucks. And that's why when we talk about defunding the police, that's become a big buzzword thing recently, is defunding the police. What does that mean? It means instead of militarizing our police, they don't need tanks, they don't need armor, they don't need assault weapons, they don't need to be militarized. What it means is taking that money and putting it into social programs, among which could be a completely separate mental health task force staffed by compassionate caregivers who are there to answer the call of a mental health crisis, rather than somebody with a gun who doesn't understand, who can traumatize or kill somebody. One
of my biggest fears, and you've probably seen me post this on Facebook after I've read of incidents in the news. I mean, maybe I want to say I'm not exaggerating saying biggest fears, but something I'm very aware of. I'll put it like that. It's a very big awareness for me. Awareness issue is, if I was to ever have a mental health crisis somewhere, wherever, one of my biggest fears is getting shot by the cops. And I've had cops pull guns on me when I wasn't even doing anything wrong before in my life. So I just I'm a little edgy about police to begin with, you know. And some people say, well, you need to give them a fair shake. I'm like, yo, I've had a cop pull a gun on me twice in my life.
Yep.
When I wasn't even doing anything. I mean, there was nothing. There was not even an investigation. You know, they just like literally wanted to check my ID, and I had a gun on me. Like, you know, come on. Like, how many chances do they get? You know,
exactly.
And then they'll say, but not every cop is like that. I said, yeah. So, you know, I mean, it's just like, dude, shut up. You know, you don't even get it. You know, but I have a big fear of that. I get maybe fear is I don't walk around in trepidation of it, but it's something I'm very aware of.
Yeah, it's something I'm very aware of. It's something that is very heavy on my mind. That if I fell into a mental health crisis, what would happen is at first they'd show up at my house and shoot my dogs. Right,
because what kind of dogs do you have?
I have 3 large black dogs.
Oh, so it seems that they don't even mess around with sit, spot, sit. They just neutralize the dog, right? Yeah.
So, you know, I have to be very, very aware of that. I remember about 2 months ago now, I was in a pretty dark place, and my psychiatrist was like, look, if this continues, if this happens, if X happens, if Y happens, you need to call 911. And I'm like, what? So they can shoot my dogs and they harass me? I was like, tell you what, I pinky promise you, I will Uber to the nearest hospital. I promise. If it gets that bad, I will Uber to the nearest hospital and call your office, but I'm not going to call the cops.
I'm saying, I think if, like if Doris, you know, God forbid, ever, I would like, please do not call the cops. Just take me to the hospital. Do not call the cops. You know?
Yeah.
Which dog is that talking right now?
That was Poe.
All right. You want to bring him on camera for a sec?
Oh, no, they're out with Dad. John just came home. So that's what they were excited about.
Yeah.
That's what
I'll play the boom sequence if he'll come up and like stick his butt in your face. So we get like an animal butt in the face during, and I'll play it twice. I'll play it twice in a row, man. How about that?
Well, you might get. Oh, well, no, she just ran away. I was gonna show you. I was gonna put the camera on my cat. She's right there, or she was. She just decided to pop away.
Are you? How many cats do you own?
2 cats, 3 dogs.
If you own more than 2 cats, you're a cat lady. That's a rule. I came up with a friend of mine, Linda. She has 2 cats, and I joked with her one time, and she says about because she's the same age I am, and she said we grew up together. She said something about, yeah, you know, if I get one more cat, I'm a cat lady. I said, yeah, so you're a CIT. You're a cat lady in training.
Yep.
I guess I could be a CLIT, but I ain't gonna go there, man. I didn't think about that. She didn't think of that either at the time. That's a funny one. That would work for stand-up, I guess. But anyways, yeah, I'm not going to call her that. But anyways, yeah. So you can't have more than 2. No. That's just a rule we come up with. One other rule I just want to share with you. No wham on road trips. This goes back. This wasn't from my road trip recently. This was actually one back in the 90s. I took with some friends across the country. For some strange reason, we decided you can. Well, George Michael is questionable as a solo. Does that really count as wham or not wham? We debated this through a couple of counties, but for some reason, we decided that if a wham song ever comes on the radio, you have to change the station immediately. It was nothing personal against George Michael. It was nothing like that. Like you could listen to like Culture Club. Culture Club was okay, right. But wham was not.
But not wham.
No wham. No wham on road. It's you ever see the movie Drugstore Cowboy? You ever seen that? You would love it. It's kind of heavy, man. It's like a doper movie, you know. But there was a rule in there that you never ever put your hat on a bed. Matt Dillon plays the lead character, and he has this rule with his friends: is that you cannot, do not leave a hat on a bed because it's like a bad omen. And I sometimes flip my hat on my bed when I come in my room. I always think of that movie. I go, ooh, Matt Dillon would not be happy with me right now, you know, because there's a hat on my bed. But let's go back to I'm meandering everywhere. This is terrible. Mental health. Yeah, Baker I'll talk about it as far from an economic standpoint. I go to the centers or did go to the centers here in Marion County. And it's kind of the public mental health, right? They got rehab, they've got medical clinic, they got whatever. And I guess they serve not just Marion County here. I guess it's Citrus County, Levy County. It's a 3 or 4 county area. And you know, like like say there's a shooting or something. And I hate this when they bring up bipolar when there's like a mass shooting. Because anyone knows anything about bipolar people, they know that the odds of them hurting themselves is like 1,000,000 times more than hurting someone else.
Oh, yeah.
And so somebody like the Vegas shooter, right? Goes out, takes somebody down at the concert, and it's he was bipolar. And I just want to cry when I hear that. Because I'm like, what are you saying? I'm like a guy that would shoot up a concert at Vegas. You know, what are you saying? And then you know, going to the centers and public mental health, it's awful, because what happens when they have a shooting like that is, you know, the Democrats, not to make it a political issue, but the Democrats tend to go like, okay, let's talk about gun control. Let's talk about some regulations on guns and background checks and whatever. And then the Republicans tend to say thoughts and prayers. The Democrats say it too, but it's not their main thing, you know. And then the Republicans, they'll talk about mental health issues.
Yep.
So it's like, wow, now I really feel bad. Now they're all talking about me, I feel like. Right. And the thing is, then they talk about, so we need to fund mental health better in the U.S., say for poor people.
Yes.
But I can tell you, not that I saw the memos from the head office, but I could tell, like, wasn't long after Trump came into office that I went from that first time, instead of seeing me once a month, like my old psychiatrist did, you know, in Mississippi when I was pastoring, had good insurance. It was once every 3 months. And it was like 15 minutes with a clinician, and here's your meds, and see ya. And then it became twice a year.
Weird.
Yeah. And then it was, and every time you're seeing a different clinician, or quite often, because the lifespan of a clinician there is short. And I can't say I blame them. It's kind of like being a public defender. You're a highly trained person, can make some good money, and you have giant case overload. You're not really able to serve people the way you probably professionally would like to. I'm sure that they know, you know, Gene could probably stand to get an hour of therapy a week, or a month. That might be nice, but we can't. It's like, kind of, here, how you feeling? Yeah, okay. You handshaking any from the lamotrigine? No, good. Here's your pills. Hit the door. I lost faith in them finally, and I know the head pharmacist there. She's a friend of mine, and she's wonderful. And I think the people that work there are wonderful. I know some great people there, but it's the system, the cutbacks. What happened with me? They had me taking 3 pills. I was taking Prozac, which then they decided to take me off. And I had found out years before, there's not a single clinical study peer-reviewed that demonstrates Prozac is helpful for bipolar depression. Regular depression, yes. Bipolar, no. They just give it to you, right? They give everybody Prozac for everything. So I had actually quit it like a year before when I started at Orange Theory. About that time, I quit my Prozac. And that goes back to, I forget why. I decided to quit. I remember what the clinician had told me. And I said, I'm just not going to take this anymore. Yeah. And I was fine. And no problem. And then I was taking lamotrigine, the time Lamictal. Yep. And that was kind of my main, that was the main one. I used to tell people, if there's one drug I have to take, that's the one. That's the one that does the magic. Lamictal. And then they were giving me, that's the balancer. Yep. And then there's, I was taking, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I was on Lamictal and I felt great and it was awesome until I had an allergic reaction. And all of a sudden,
did you get like that, what they call it, something John syndrome, when your skin comes off and all that? Ooh, that would have freaked. I was so scared of that. I saw pictures of it.
In the hospital for a day, and they had to put me on, you know, a whole bunch of anti-inflammatories and allergy meds and all kinds of stuff, because it started off like a little spot on my chest, and then the next morning my whole chest and my shoulders and my neck were all covered. My face was swollen and bright red.
Because that thing can kill you. That what's it called, Stevens-Johns or something syndrome, Johnson-Wales or something.
Yep.
Yeah, I was really edgy when they started having me take that for that reason. I said, oh, it'll be okay. But I took that, and I took a little Seroquel to go to sleep at night. Just a little Seroquel, not the big dose.
They had me on Seroquel too, and Seroquel was great, but it was just, I mean, I was out like a light. Just
that's like what's the one? I would say Dilaudid. Boy, that'll knock you out like a light. That's not it.
You cannot get Dilaudid anymore, as it turns out.
Oh, Depakote. That's the one. I just call it Dopa-Bloat because you're so doped. They get on that wall. You're so doped up, and you will gain weight on that and Seroquel. I've seen some guys that just went whoosh, you know, like in no time flat. And when I first went in, you know, like you get the best advice on meds in the crisis unit, and I don't mean from the clinicians. I mean from the fellow patients. Oh yeah. I had to go into crisis unit there to get back on my meds. It was the only way. You couldn't do outpatient there. It'd be 6 months till they saw you. So I had to self Baker Act myself basically to get my meds in 24 hours or 48. So I'm in there 3 days, and my roommate is like, first thing he tells me, he says, oh, he's kind of like, your first time, huh? You know, I'm like, yeah. Young guy's he was probably about 24, 25. Yeah. So we're laying in our bunks, right? It's one night. And he's telling me like, okay, like they're going to talk to you about what meds, what were you taking before? Okay, they're going to want to put you on Seroquel. Don't let them do it. Look at me. Like he weighed 300 pounds probably. And he says, here's a picture of me. Like he had this picture or something with him. No, he couldn't have it. How did I see it? And maybe he told me, but he weighed like 200. He gained like 100 pounds in like 9 months or something. Yep. They're giving him a ridiculous amount. They give it just enough to sleep at night.
Yep, I put on 20 pounds in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And I haven't been able to lose it yet.
So I go to one of my visits, and this clinician, it's a brand new one with me. And so she asked me, she said, kind of, how are you doing? And I said, well, yeah, I'm doing really good. I'm still having, it's just how you sleeping? And I said, I still have a little trouble getting to sleep. You know, it's kind of a common thing with me. So I thought, so she's writing in her little thing for a while. And then she says, so how about we double your meds? And the first thing I said, now you ain't going to this doubling my Seroquel. It's not going. I'm not going to gain a ton of weight, am I? Because like I'm starting to go to think about going to the gym again and stuff. And she says, no, I mean all three of them. And I learned real quick at the clinic, do not question those people.
Nope.
I got pissed off at a guy one time, and I had a very good reason to be pissed, and he threatened to Baker Act me. And I said, dude, I'm not being manic. I have had some caffeine this morning, but they had changed my diagnosis and not informed me. And then he asked me why I was taking the meds I was, as though I gave them to myself. And I got a little pissed at him because he had a whole, and finally I was just like, he's like, you're being manic. I said, no, I'm being pissed. I'm being pissed because first off, you let me leave. You changed my diagnosis from my old doctor when I left here from the crisis unit. Like that's a violation of my HIPAA rights.
Right. And without,
you know, you didn't tell me what I have. And you're telling me I'm pissed? I have a right to be pissed, dude. But I learned real quick to shut up with them because they can just throw you in the hole.
Yeah, they do. And you get invalidated a lot more when you're mentally ill because
oh my gosh, yes.
All of a sudden, you know, you're not allowed to be upset. I'm just trying to get this fixed. You're not allowed to be upset anymore because if you're upset, you're manic or you're depressed. Right. And it's not really how you're feeling. And it's like, no, I want to get things done. This isn't a mania. I just have things that I want to get done today. And it's like, slow down. Not everything. I'm like, I just want to get like 2 or 3 things done. I want to get grocery shopping done in my lawn mowed. That's not being manic. I'll tell you what, when I'm out spending $500 on bullshit and trying to get everything done and, you know, cook a 7-course meal, then I'm being manic.
Right. And you do it on 4 hours of sleep for a week in a row.
Right. And I'm doing it on, you know, 2 or 3 hours of sleep. Then I'm being manic, sure. But if I'm just like, I want to go grocery shopping and mow the lawn today, I'm not being manic. I'm trying to get things done. There is a difference.
Well, see, that one day they just double all my meds. And I'm not a doctor, right? I didn't even stay at a Holiday Inn Express. But I know a few things. And one is, first off, I knew I only had one of those drugs dealt with my sleep directly.
Yep.
So why are you raising my lamictal, which might put me in risk of getting that rash and the whole thing, which can kill you? Mm-hmm. And like, what does that have to do with anything? So I come home. Well, Doris has been a nurse for like 30 years. So Doris actually does know a few things. And so she said, so what'd they tell you? I said, they're doubling all my meds. She goes, what? She goes, that's not even, I knew that as a science teacher. It's like an experiment, right? You have one variable. Mm-hmm. If you double all 3 meds and they have a reaction, you don't know what med did it.
Exactly.
That's like malpractice, man. That is I mean, you know, come on. When I teach scientific method to a group of 10th graders, when I taught high school biology and I'm teaching them about variables, I'm teaching them that basically. Right. And so when I got home that time, to see a nurse just shake her head, you know, and I already knew without her having to tell me, but she's the expert. So then I really knew I wasn't full of shit. And I didn't want to go back after that. And then I ended up doing ayahuasca and I had to get off the pills anyways for that. And after my first round of ayahuasca, I started taking the Lamictal again. And then the second time around, a few months later, I just stayed off of it. And I quit Seroquel the night before my first obstacle course race. I forget why. And Doris mentioned that I slept better. She said I fidgeted around a lot. And it took me forever to wake up in the morning when I took Seroquel.
Yes.
And so I don't take any meds now. I just meditate and work out and never drink more than 3 beers, and not that often when I do, you know.
That works.
It's a gentleman's pint. And it all started to get a friend of mine out of trouble with his girlfriend.
Oh, yeah?
We were at a drum circle in Ocala, and I was going to go to Tin Cup back in the day. It was on the square. And I had a few bucks in my pocket. I was going to go get a pint of Guinness, you know, a couple pints of Guinness. And so my buddy says, man, I'd really love to go with you, but I'm broke. I said, well, I'll cover you a couple brews. Don't worry about it. You know, in the course of life, I'm sure I probably owe you for a few. So he says, yeah, but you know, the woman not to be named, he says, she'll kill me, dude. Like I'm with you. She'll know we're out partying. I'm like, just tell her, text her and tell her that you're with me and we're at the Tin Cup and we're having a gentleman's pint of Guinness. And she'll think it's just fine. And he does. And he goes, she's cool with it. And I was like, yeah. So what it actually was, though, a gentleman's pint, and now it can be any beer, any beverage, actually.
Yeah.
3 pints. Well, I guess we had 3 pints of cognac. That would not work. But 3 pints of beer in about 90 minutes. So you're talking a pint every 30 minutes. And if you do that, unless you're drinking some super high power IPA, you will get a nice little buzz, but you won't be smashed. Right? Yeah. Theoretically, you probably are under the driving limit, actually, or, you know, getting close. Yeah. I mean, you're not trashed. And so we did this several times over the course of maybe 6 months. And finally she like caught on to it. And this one was like a sister to me. We had a big falling out a few years ago, but she's like a sister to me. I could never lie to her. That's probably why we never got in a real relationship. In a slightly different, if Mercury wouldn't have been in retrograde or something, we might have wound up married with kids years ago. I don't know. I'm kind of glad we didn't. That's another story. But I was over at their house and she just kind of pulled me aside in the kitchen, just sort of put me up against the wall. Like, all right, what's a gentleman's pint? Don't lie to me. I'm just like, oh,
I've been found out.
Yeah. So I just keep it cool on the booze and, you know, but yeah, that was the thing. My experience at the clinic, I keep seeing these people talking about more mental health funding for poor people and in, say, like minority communities and people with less access. And I see shittier and shittier care plans. Yep. That cost the person more and more money, which I mean, if it's just a couple bucks, okay. But I'm just saying, literally, we're just like, it's like, wait a minute, you're making me pay an arm and a leg more for way, way less now. And and now like they don't even make appointments anymore for the clinic appointments. It's a walk-in. It's a walk-in deal. And I was talking with my friend who's the pharmacist, and I said, you know, I was brought up to be a very informed patient, and I had a good situation when I was first diagnosed. And my psychiatrist thought, you know, the more informed you are, the better a patient you will be, right? So he gave me some legitimate, like WebMD and National Institute of Mental Health websites and things, real legit sites, and a couple books he recommended. And he says, I want you to read these. I want you to learn about bipolar. Yeah. And so when I came in at the clinic, I was pretty informed, but a lot of people there, you can just sense it's not like that. So if you're not even saying to a person like, come on, you give them an appointment card and say, I'll see you in 6 months. What are the odds they might not be there in 6 months?
Right. Exactly.
Now make it whether you don't even give them that appointment card and you say, show up in 6 months. By the way, it's 7 in the morning and we might get to you by 9.
Well, and that's the other thing is, you know, let's say that somebody does get Baker acted and they don't have insurance. and they're told, okay, now you're going to follow up with us in a week, right? How are they going to afford that follow-up? How are they going to afford the $800 worth of medicines they've just been prescribed for their brand new diagnosis? Like, great, you got them stable. They have a diagnosis. We know what's wrong. We know how to treat it, but we're not going to treat it. Like, that's the major thing. That's the major grab for me that upsets me so much about the Baker Act, because it's traumatizing. And then when you finally get out, there is no follow-up. There is no aftercare if you don't have insurance, and you don't have good insurance.
And yeah, because a lot of insurance, mental health isn't really covered by a lot of insurance plans, or hardly at all.
Hardly at all. I mean, like I said, I'm very, very privileged with my insurance to have a really good rate and to have really good coverage. But I've had insurances before that just straight up did not cover mental health, or the copay on it was so high that it was like $90 a visit. And it's like, I can't afford that. You know, I understand that the doctor is charging $150, but if you're only covering $60 of it and I have to come up with 90, I don't have that kind of money. That was, back when I was waiting tables for a living. I didn't have that kind of money.
Yeah, bring that in. I've talked with people about that. Like the restaurant, I cooked almost 20 years, 15, 20 years, something. I don't know. Long enough I don't count the years anymore, right? It's like if you still count the beers you drank, you didn't have enough when I was in the Army, right? It's like that. I cooked till the point I don't know how long I cooked. But I tell people, it's like if you want to get, I don't know how many people probably in this time of COVID, even how many people just catch the flu and colds every year going to restaurants, because like when you're a cook or a server, you cannot miss work. You can't miss work to be sick. No. I mean, first off, even if your boss decided you weren't a team player and cut your hours, or your shifts for the next couple of weeks.
Yep.
Okay, so you go to the doctor. I don't know. We're not even talking mental health. Let's just talk about, I'm sick. I'm sick. So I got the flu. I can't work. So you go, and so maybe it's $150 to go see the doctor. Let's see, meds might be $75, and antibiotics can be very expensive.
Yep.
And then the doctor tells you, yeah, you have the intestinal flu. So first off, you say you're a line cook? Oh, you definitely don't need to be making nobody's food. So here's 2 days of bed rest. So what you just did, you just lost 3 days of work. If you paid $150 and say another 75, you just covered it 2 to 2. Basically, you just blew a week's pay.
Yep.
To stay home, to go to a doctor, then to the pharmacy, get the meds, and then sit home for a couple days to get better. You just blew a week's pay. And when you come back with that doctor's note, your GM, if you were working and you didn't get 40 hours in the kitchen because they didn't want to give you overtime, so you really got 38. Yep. So your 38 hours for the next week just went to 24.
Yep.
Because we're going to show you what a team player is. And it's sort of like, so what? I'm taking a green shit every 12 and a half minutes for like 2 days straight, and you really want me to flip somebody's pancakes?
Yep. I've served tables with a fever.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't afford to miss work. I've done cashiering with a fever. I've done all kinds of jobs while very, very sick. And like, that's what I think about when COVID came up, is like, how many of these folks are still going to be going to work while really, really sick?
Right.
And spreading it, this deadly disease, because they can't afford to miss the time off.
Yeah.
Because you can't afford 10 days off to be in quarantine.
And the people I really felt for, you get the offer, for like insurance once or twice a year, depending, it's not like you get hired and they offer you insurance. You got to wait. It was like once a year, once every 6 months, we'd get a notice of, you can get insurance tomorrow. It'd be like, tomorrow, if you bring in the paperwork, it had to be that one day. Like if it was your day off, you just had to come in. So if you were single, you're just a single cook or a single server or host or hostess, whatever, it was bad enough, man. High deductible was too high. The premium was high, but God forbid you had a dependent.
Yep.
Whether you were married or say you're a single mom, maybe you're a single mom waiting tables or cooking. I saw some of the coverage plans where like, man, if you had one dependent, what I made in a week cooking, it would have been like a quarter of my paycheck was the premium cost for that insurance. If I I just wanted to cover my wife, or I wanted to cover my husband, or I wanted to cover my kid, or whatever, which is crazy. It would be unaffordable. It would be unaffordable to do that.
I had a job a little while ago, and part of the reason that John and we actually got secret married. We got courthouse married about a year before we had our wedding because of insurance reasons.
Oh, that sounds like Robin Hood made Marion for a minute. I said, that's so romantic. Did he take you off to the forest and make merry?
No, we just went to the courthouse, and it was because if we were married, adding my daughter and I onto his insurance would have been an extra $90 a month. For me to get insurance through my work for myself and my daughter would have been $500 a month. So
were you a single mom, like as a server? You were the person I just described. Yep. Yes, I knew plenty of folks like that, and I knew a couple cooks that were single dads, and they would tell me like, dude, you're looking at column A on the chart. That's you, dude. Yep. Go look at column B. That's me. And the difference in the monthly premium was insane.
Insane. It is insane.
Yeah. And the sick thing is, the person with the kid is the one that, in a way, needs the insurance more. And we're talking. I mean, young people need insurance too, but I mean, if you're if you're basically a healthy server and you're 25 years old, it's not like you're 65,
right?
But that kid needs that coverage.
Exactly.
It's going to make it almost impossible for that person to. It's almost like it's like you're sticking it in front of their face, like, look, here's this insurance. It's great. You need it. Your kid needs it. Oh, too bad you can't afford it. Fuck you. We don't
pay you enough to afford this.
Yeah, go get another job so you can afford our insurance at this job. Yeah, I used to bitch all the time. I would say, why do you even offer us insurance? Oh, that's right. So the corporation, say if you work for Chili's, Brinkers can say, oh, but we do offer insurance.
Well, we offer it.
Right.
Yeah, nobody can afford it.
Yeah, and by the way, it better be on your day at work because we only do it one day a year or twice a year, whatever it was. I never did figure that out, but I think the whole healthcare situation here just sucks, and the view of like mental illness is just.
There's a lot of stigma.
It's crazy. That's what it is. Not people are crazy. I'll call myself crazy sometimes. I don't like to call people that, but the situation is nuts.
Even right now in the military, if you go and you seek out mental health help, you seek out counseling, that can affect your career.
Oh, hell yeah. Well, that's like a pilot. The last person that a pilot or a naval aviator wants to ever see is the flight surgeon.
Yep.
Because that's the person that can take them out of a cockpit, whether it's migraine headaches or, I'm getting a little ringing in my ears or whatever it is, and that's what they want to do is fly those jets.
Yep.
So they don't want that. They don't want to see that flight surgeon.
It can ruin your career. Mm-hmm. My husband is going through it right now. He's trying to get a promotion, and he's having to get an exception to the rule because he is also on an antidepressant. And they are potentially denying him a promotion after being in the military for 15 years, denying him a promotion.
It's probably why he's depressed. After I was in the military myself, who wouldn't be on antidepressants after 15 years as a non-com? Right. They should give you that like in an MRE, man. Like in your MRE out in the field, you should get 2 Prozacs.
They're like, well, what are you depressed about? He's like, I've been to war 4 times.
Wow, he's done 4 deployments. Crap.
Yeah, he's had 4 deployments. So, it's like, what doesn't he have to be depressed about?
Are you really involved in, say, like the 22 project? That makes me think about veteran suicide, and I've got a friend who's very involved in that.
Because it's something that is a huge concern is veterans and then getting health care. Because even after they get out of the military and now they're civilians and they can get that health care that they desperately need, they've had that stigma put on them for their entire career. Mm-hmm. And they're afraid to go get help, mm-hmm. or they don't believe in it. And mm-hmm. that's how we end up with our houseless population. 60% of men who are houseless are veterans.
I've been one.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's how we end up with such a high suicide rate among veterans, is that we don't prioritize mental health in this country, and we stigmatize it so much. And it's deadly. It's literally deadly. It would be like if we stigmatized having breast cancer.
Yeah.
And breast cancer treatment. It's the same thing.
Diabetes. My psychiatrist, when I first was diagnosed, and I was like 45, it was in 2000, yeah, like 45. And it was, you know, when he was talking to me about it, because it hit me kind of hard. It hit me hard. Like, I mean, I handled it well in the office, but man, I had to go. There was like a Walgreens next door or something. I went and I got my meds, and I was going to take them that day. And I said, I'll just take them in the morning. I had like an 11 a.m. appointment or something. I said, when I get up tomorrow morning, I start my meds. And I remember I got my pickup truck that morning. I had to go somewhere early. And I took them, actually, I left them in the truck and I was taking them and I started crying. I remember thinking, God, I felt like I'd lost the war, you know, like, oh, I got to take meds. This sucks. And then I sort of realized, no, I was just starting to fight. Now I know the enemy, so to speak, you know, now. All right. So then I kind of bucked up but I remember that first time I took my pills. Yeah, I was just sobbing. I was in my truck, good 10 minutes. I couldn't even just sitting in my carport. Like I had to get my shit together so I could even drive, you know, basically.
I had kind of the same thing after I got my bipolar diagnosis, because for me, you know, I always knew like, okay, I have depression. Great. But to then have what it actually was and to realize, no, I hadn't been treated right. I had been misdiagnosed. This is what you actually have. It was a relief, but it was also so overwhelming.
Right. Yes. It's a relief and it sucks at the same time.
Because it's like, what it felt like. I have a name for it now. Great. Oh God, I'm bipolar, like my father. Oh my God.
See, he told me it was like diabetes. He said, you know, when people are diabetic, they have to take insulin.
Yep.
He said, you know, I mean, like adult aunties, like the childhood. A good friend of mine, one of my best friends growing up, I still know him. He's been through a lot in his life, but one thing he had now I said I get confused. My mom had diabetes and type 1. That's the childhood kind, right?
Yeah,
it's like genetic. That. Yeah, I think that's what she had, but it came on later in life with her. But yeah, my buddy had that. And he said, it's kind of like that. He says it's a genetic thing. So this kid who has to take insulin and through their life, it's a genetic thing. So their pancreas just doesn't make the right amount of insulin. So they take a shot, you know, boom. So now they're maintained. And he says, okay, your brain is not making a certain chemical just right. And so we give you this to offset that. So you can kind of think of it as though it's kind of like diabetes of the mind. He said, now that's a very loose translation, but in a way, it's kind of how you can understand it. And so, you know, like, all right, you know, and, but you're talking about being diagnosed. Yeah, for me, it was like I'd never been to a psychiatrist's office, like to be checked out like that before, you know, like come in with a problem. I've been through psych evals, but never like this. And so I had to fill out a stack of paperwork that thick. They said, get here early. And so I'm in the lobby, right? Like my life story, you know. Tell us every kind of drug you ever did. How many jobs have you had? Like, did you love your mother as a child? I don't know, man. Just write War and Peace in the next 40 minutes about your whole life. So I go in the office, and he's just looking through these pages for like, it seemed like forever. It was probably 10 minutes. It wasn't long. And he just looks at me and he says, you're bipolar. It was just kind of like that. I'm like, well, why do you think that? And he says, you're a classic. And it was really weird when he explained it, because my substance abuse made sense. My multiple marriages made sense. Numerous jobs made sense. Type of jobs I'd had made. I mean, everything. It was just like all these disparate elements in my screwed up life suddenly had a unity, like a fabric.
Yep.
It was like all these threads made a blanket all of a sudden. And I went, but it was smothering me.
Yes.
And then I'm just like, so then the first thing I think is, oh, all my life makes sense now. And then second I realized it made sense, I went, oh, I'm an incredibly huge fuck up. Now it's like, I've thought I've been a fuck up my whole life. Now I actually know I'm a fuck up.
Yeah.
So then he had to explain to me, and he says, now you're probably thinking you're all fucked up, right? You know, I'm like, yeah. And he says, no. And that's when he tried to explain, look, it's just, you have like a genetic disorder, basically. It's a genetic thing, really. And as far as we know, and so I'm kind of like, okay, so I'm just fucked up with a genetic thing. It took me a little while to And then one day I was driving. I remember the moment I was driving across Lake Pontchartrain, going down to New Orleans. I was going across the old rickety bridge before they built the new one. And I was coming home, coming back to Mississippi. And there was a woman, and I wish I could remember her name and the book she wrote, but she was an actual psychotherapist who was diagnosed with type 1 bipolar. I don't know. She's probably upper 30s. I mean, she's married, kids, professional, everything. And she's trying to find out, like, why am I, doing all this crazy shit? And it was one of those things, like, I guess she was trained to diagnose it in someone else, but couldn't see it in herself. You know how a lot of times we don't see things in ourselves, right?
Yep.
And I remember this. They were interviewing her on NPR. And the one thing I remember was she said, I never say I am bipolar. I say I have bipolar. And the commentator, the interviewer, asked her why. And she said, well, if I had cancer, would I say I am cancer?
Right.
I would say I have cancer. Or I don't say I am heart disease. No, I have heart disease, right? She said, name any physical malady, ailment, whatever, that a person says they are that if they have it. You won't find one.
Yep.
It doesn't exist. That's not how people talk. It says, but mental illness becomes I am this, I am that, I am schizophrenic. Now, since I've gone back to saying, fuck it, I'm bipolar. I just like, I don't even care. But for a while, that was, it wasn't a coping mechanism for me. It was more than that. It was, I talked to my shrink about it. It was a real, like a validation for me. It was like a mantra. It was a mantra for me. I almost enjoyed it when people said I was bipolar because it made me think then, no, I have it.
Yeah.
It was actually like a strength, a focus point for me.
And that's just it. And having conversations like this that are open and frank about mental illness is the way to end the stigma and the way to empower others. This is how it's done. This is the way to do it, is to talk about it. Be open, be honest, be vulnerable. And, I'm not saying that anybody should put themselves out, make themselves uncomfortable, but being open and honest and having this type of conversation is exactly how we end the stigma of mental health. This is how it's done.
I on one hand, I want to do like a nuts and bolts type analytical discussion of the condition of mental, but really I was hoping it would be more like this because I don't get nobody, like, I don't know nobody like bipolar I get to talk with about like being bipolar. It's like going to an AA meeting, kind of like, I did AA for a little while. I had tried it out long time ago when I drank more. And I had friends that went for a long time, and they would say the cool thing they loved about going to meetings was like you're surrounded by other people that got it.
Yes.
Particular thing, you know what I mean? So they could talk about stuff there or hear stories from other people there and go like, I'm not going to do the boom video, but it's like that, like boom. Yeah, you get it, I kind of miss that.
Yeah, there's something to be said. Like, I've done group therapies before, and it was really helpful because it was like, okay, I feel terrible because I don't want anybody else to go through what I've been through in my life, but I also feel really good that I'm not alone in this.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
I don't want anyone to be able to empathize with me because the things I've been through are so horrendous. But at the same time, oh my God, I'm so glad you're here and that you understand and that you've been through something similar.
Right. It's like, now we've never met in real life.
Right.
I'm gonna take you to Taco Madre for burritos. Come to Ocala or La Vaca Frida, man. Yeah, they got great leches there. Best ever. But we've talked on the phone once. Now we've done this video, but we've known each other online for 5-6 years now.
5 or 6 years at least.
A few common friends. Salem is one. I think I met you through Salem. Who, by the way, I saw Salem when I was in St. Louis on my road trip briefly.
Oh, I love them.
Yeah. I stayed with Salem's mom in St. Genevieve. I've known Gretch for. Well, I'll tell Salem. Yeah, I remember Salem before she was. Excuse me, before they were born. I've known Salem a long time.
Right.
But Salem was a bump, But yeah. I spent like a week with Gretchen, and we went up there to St. Louis one afternoon for a few hours just to see stuff. She wanted to show me stuff. And then we stopped by and saw Salem. Not long, man, just probably 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Something like that. But yeah, so I know you through Salem, and
we had some other mutuals too.
Yeah, Vicky Trulip.
Yep, Vicky, I've known her for probably 15, 16 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, she was a friend of my older brothers when they were in community college together.
So she was never a school teacher. Did you go to Forest?
No.
Yeah, she teaches English.
Yep, I went to Westport High School. Yeah, she was a friend of my brother's. They were in classes together. So I've known Vicky for a really long time. And then we also had Kyle in common, who is no longer a part of my life. But
yeah, I've kept up with him. He had a really bad accident, right?
I didn't.
He had a very, it wasn't his fault. He was actually riding with someone. Oh. The other person you probably know her, but they were driving and it wasn't their fault. I think it got rear-ended or something and got pushed into an intersection and then got hit by oncoming. It was really messed up. He almost died. It's had an effect on him. I've been over, he was in Halifax in Daytona for a while. And I visited him one day and I keep up with him some, but he's getting better.
Good.
This was like one of those mega wake up.
Good.
Like not just this bad thing happened. What do I do? One of those like, Jesus, man, I almost died. Like I might live my life different kind of thing a little bit. I don't know. But he's coming around. I
don't wish any ill will on him. He might have done a lot of really messed up things to me, but I don't wish him any ill will.
Yeah. He's like a little brother to me, I guess. I've known him since he was 15, 16. But yeah, it was kind of like talking to a little bit different person when I saw him in the hospital. You can tell it's like a guy that witnessed his mortality before his own eyes kind of moment. I've kind of had moments like that in my life, not for the same reasons, but
right.
We'll see where things go. But I think it's just been great to just, and I mean this in love, to talk with another crazy person.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. Your crazy goes with mine pretty well.
Yeah. It's it's a weird. You were talking earlier about I'm not manic. I'm just trying to get 3 things done today. I was sharing with Doris about this the other day. I had an idea about something. I can't remember what it was now, and it made good sense, but it was like a big idea. Mm-hmm. And I've had a few of them lately, and I relating to the show, and I can't remember which one this was now. But I remember I said to her, I said, "Okay, now just tell me, be honest. Like we're in the kitchen just talking, and I said, just tell me now, like, okay, is this like a big idea that, well, it's a big idea, but it's solid and it's doable and it's realistic, or am I just hypomanic as shit today? Like, because sometimes I can't tell the difference.
It's
if I'm
hard
like having visions of grandeur, or if I'm really like, okay, well, here's an example that I think of right now. I shot some footage of a BLM action in Ocala a few weeks ago, and going through a friend of mine, a former student, I was gonna say I was involved with. That does not sound right. I do not mean that, but involved in the sense she wasn't in my class, but I was her academic team coach.
Okay.
Quiz bowl, and so we were involved in that sense, But I've been involved in her life. And she has some good connections now because she's in Columbia Law School and a Penn grad. Like she went to Wharton and actually made good grades, unlike Trump. And she would have got paid to take his SAT, but she wouldn't have done it.
Right.
Anyway, she got me a hookup with the New York Times. So that footage went to a reporter at the New York Times, and then the New York Times reporter, and I can't think of her name right now, she gets a hold of me and says, "Do you have any more?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So I sent her the rest a couple days ago, and then my buddy Mitch is like, "Tell her about the road trip, dude. Come on, man. You gotta leverage this." So I mentioned it a little bit, and she wrote back, and she was like, "That's just really interesting." So I told her a couple more things about it, and so I told Mitch today, and he says, "Dude," I said, "Yeah, like, man, could you imagine like if the New York Times gave me the opportunity to write like a piece, like a serial piece about the road trip, America in the time of COVID or something?" Okay, in my mind, I can see that. I think I could do it. I can write. I think I could do it. But I have this thing of like, on one hand, okay, was that a big vision? Like, who would think some guy sitting in Ocala, virtual ne'er-do-well, ends up writing like a series of articles for the New York Times about something as big as the U.S. in the time of COVID. Previously, essentially unpublished. I've never been majorly published, right? Okay, so is that like a vision, a dream, something that could theoretically happen, or am I just, the caffeine I had this morning kind of hit that thing in my brain and I went bipolar on myself?
No, it feels like something that's reasonable that could happen. Like maybe the New York Times wouldn't publish it on their main website, but maybe through one of their blog outlets.
Right. Not saying, I get page A1 and Thomas Friedman loses his job and I become the new, Thomas Friedman. No, that would be bipolar thinking.
Right. So I don't see that as an unreasonable thing to kind of strive for.
Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, it's not like I said to Mitch today, like we were just sitting around, like I'm just laying in bed talking to him on the phone, and this morning and be like, oh, I have no contact whatsoever with the New York Times. I have no idea who to talk to. And by the way, I'm going to write a thing in the New York Times.
Right.
This person got a hold of me through my friend. I'll put her Gita Minocha. Gita is amazing. I did a podcast with her not so long ago. She is incredible. She's going to go to Columbia. She's in Columbia Law School now. And I tell her all the time, man, like when I get in trouble one day, you just remember how you keep telling me I was a formative person in your education. You remember that when I need a lawyer for something, man, like I want it pro bono too, because I ain't rich. I'm having a Columbia Law School graduate attorney with scruples even.
Yeah.
She has scruples. And, and then she can get me out of trouble or get me on probation instead of life imprisonment or something. I don't know. It's always good to have that damn good attorney in your back pocket, Yeah. But no, she's something else. You two should meet. You guys would really hit it off. Definitely.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna close this off here in a minute, but Martha Stewart, punk rock Martha Stewart, going out question. First off, so a couple questions here related to that. Give me the 3 most compelling reasons why I should become a vegan.
Oh, well, there's the humanitarian issue of it, that the fact that we have a lot of migrant farm workers who are working in butchering facilities, and the facilities are unsafe. Mm-hmm. They are filthy. It is disgusting work, and they are incredibly underpaid for it. So there's a humanitarian reason. Under capitalism, we vote with our dollars. So if you don't want to support animal cruelty, if you don't want to support anti-humanitarian work practices, that sort of thing, the best way to do that is to take your money out of it. And the third reason I would definitely say would be health. The simple truth is that your cholesterol will get lower, your blood pressure will get lower, you will be healthier living on a plant-based diet. This is science, not opinion.
Well, I agree with you. I was a vegetarian for a while, and if I could just get past the cheese thing.
I know.
Have you ever heard of a guy named Rich Roll?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he wrote a book, Going Ultra. I read it earlier this year, maybe about 8-9 months ago. And I listen to his podcast every once in a while. And he's got an amazing story, recovering from substance abuse. He was an alcoholic, and then he put on some weight, and then he said, I'll lose it. And then he ends up running triathlons and all this crazy stuff. And you should listen to his podcast sometime, the Rich Roll podcast. It's very motivating, but he's totally plant-based.
Yeah.
And you would love him for that. He has a lot to say about plant-based diets. And he didn't get into the humanitarian and socio-political ramifications of it too much, but he's starting to do that more now. He's sort of, I don't think it was that he really, that he was into those aspects of it, I think, but he didn't want to overly politicize. As he put it, I think in the book, he sort of said, I want people to do this, and I don't want to bring politics and social affairs into it, which might turn some people off. And I think now he feels more like he wants to put out there those aspects of it. But I can't, I'll have to get him on the show. Say, Rich, man, I listen to your podcast. You got to get on my podcast, bro.
Yeah.
But so, okay. Now, punk rock, Martha Stewart.
Yes.
Second round of questions.
Okay.
if I came to you and said, all right, you have convinced me to be a vegan.
Okay.
For these 3 great reasons. Then you're going to show me how delicious vegan food can be. What would be the 3 things you would make me for dinner?
Okay, so the first thing I would make is roasted butternut squash, and I'd fill that with lentils, fresh herbs, and probably some vegan sausage, and just serve that as a bowl. That would be delicious. Then I would make you that amazing blueberry pie.
The one you had with the oatmeal on the top and
the oat and crumb topping, that. And then I would also make some bread, some beautiful sourdough bread or some yeast rolls, something that can be made with butter, but is just as delicious without it. And just to show you that, you know, this is real food that people can eat.
I can't, every time I hear yeast roll, I think of Golden Corral. I don't know if those are real bread things, but boy, it's like those cheese biscuits at Red Lobster.
Yeah.
Like,
they're good.
Oh, I love those things. That might be my 4th. That would be the 4th food. It'd be burrito. Anything wrapped counts as a burrito. Cheesecake, and those cheese biscuits at Red Lobster.
So good.
Which I hardly ever go to Red Lobster, but I may have to go. Yeah, cheese biscuits. Okay, last set of questions. Martha Stewart, punk rock Martha Stewart.
Yeah.
We've discussed the benefits of veganism, both for individuals and society and the earth. You have told me what you would cook me to convert me to veganism.
Yes.
All right. 3 greatest punk rock albums of all time and why. And one of them better be something by The Clash, or you're never going to come on my show again.
I was literally about to say The Clash. Anything by The Clash. I would also say Somewhere Between Heaven and Hell by Social Distortion. Probably my favorite. I actually have a Social Distortion. No, you can't see it. No, maybe. Nope. It's there. I promise.
I'm kind of leaning my head as though I'm going to get a better view of your arm, like I'm sitting there.
No, it's there. It's on my forearm.
Okay.
But yeah, I have a Social Distortion tattoo. And the last top 3 punk rock album. You know, I'm actually there. I forget the name of it. I think it was called For Blood and Empire, but it was by Anti-Flag, and it came out at the height of the Bush era. So it's a little more modern. It's not like a classic punk album, but it's so angry and so visceral that I'm gonna rank it up there. And anything that Against Me ever did.
What do you think, now? And we'll finish this off with this. If you were going to bake a loaf of sourdough bread, what group would you be listening to bake the best sourdough bread you could bake?
When I bake, I like to listen to Psychobilly. So I'd probably be listening to the Coffin Cats or the Creep Show or the Matadors, something like that while I bake. Yeah. There's just something about the beat of rockabilly and psychobilly while you're kneading dough. It's just perfect.
All right. There we go. There's some wisdom for people to have. That's right.
Wisdom.
So y'all can't figure out how to do sourdough well. You just learned it here. You're listening to the wrong music.
You're listening to the wrong music. You got to listen to Psychobilly.
So if we could get you hooked up, if I can get you hooked up with Snoop Dogg, would you like to snag him off Martha Stewart? Because I think you and him could do it. He and Martha Stewart are tight, and they've got that show they've been doing together. It's like a cooking show or something. I've seen a couple episodes,
Maybe I'll get my own different rapper. I'll get T-Pain something.
Who'd you like? I'll see what I can do.
Yeah, I'll get T-Pain.
All right.
Yeah. Or Method Man. Let me get Method Man.
All right. Yeah, there we go. Okay. That's it, y'all. So I'm gonna take it out of here, but first off, one last time, man. Here it comes, people. Thank you, Mitch. You just gave me a whole new toy to play with. That is just too cool. I'm gonna do a live stream Sunday night, 2 hours, and you know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna put that on loop, and like I will have the most annoying feed ever. It'll just be that over and over and over. So, hey, and here's the one that's this is the sponsors, and it's somewhere here. Oh, here we go. And this one I can talk to you. There's no boom. This has been brought to you by the following people. Mitch made this for me because I never can remember 3 people correctly. And it's Scarlet Co. for Art on Patreon and Redbubble. And Scarlet's amazing. You would love Scarlet. And David's Delicious Delights, who is going to make me cheesecake one day the next time I come to Selinsgrove, Pennsylvania. And hometownaction.org, which is a power building collective working for more sustainable and inclusive communities in the rural South. And that's Warren Tidwell, who I podcasted last night. Warren is getting to be buds with Bernie Sanders now.
Ooh, fancy.
Yeah. Warren and I went to, on my road trip this summer, we walked the Edmund Pettus Bridge together in Selma.
Oh, wow.
We walked it with John Lewis when the one a few years ago, Obama and, President Obama and his wife Michelle, and they all went. It was a few years back, very a big anniversary of it, and he was there for that, and we actually got to hear the story of it from a guy. He's older now, but he was 13 on Bloody Sunday, and he was not allowed to march. His uncle was one of the people that marched that day on Bloody Sunday, and he wanted to go, and his uncle said, "No, you're 13 now. I don't want you getting your head bashed in today."
Yeah.
And then we went to Montgomery, and we were at the Freedom Rider Museum. We went to a kind of a memorial commemorative service for John Lewis and C.T. Vivian, who both had died a few days before.
Yep.
But he's quite a guy. Warren is a pretty interesting dude. And I just found out that he knows a guy who Jermaine Johnson. Jermaine Johnson is the Alabama football guy on YouTube. He's hilarious. He's this guy. He's actually, I think, a CPA in real life, but it's just like he's got this set, like he's on his couch, like you'd be sitting in his living room watching football on Saturday, right? Mm-hmm. And so after the games are over, he puts together this thing. It's about 5 minutes long, and it's like a kind of a comedy routine on how the games went that day.
Nice.
And he's hilarious. I found out Warren knows this guy, and you know how he knows him? Mm. He met him. They were out tearing down a Confederate statue illegally one night.
Nice.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. Warren's getting ready to raise some money. They're getting ready to take down the one in the middle of Tuskegee, Alabama. $25,000 fine. So they're raising $25,000 on top of what it takes to take the thing down. So when they say, "I'm sorry, you broke the law," that'll be a $25,000 fine. They go, "Here you go, bam, taking down your statue."
Nice.
But yes, I'm hoping to meet Alabama guy. That's what everybody knows him as.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be a pretty cool dude. But you're pretty cool too.
Thanks. I try.
Yeah. If you were to call Jermaine, see, we're already on a first name basis, and he's never met me. I can't imagine ever saying to him though, seeing his show for a few years now, dude, you're like the punk rock Martha Stewart. Or he's a huge Tide fan, so I guess he'd be like, "You're like the punk rock Bear Bryant." That doesn't even sound right, punk rock Bear Bryant. Though I think his hat was pretty punk when you think about it.
Yeah.
It would be wearing it when and whatever. But anyway, so hey man, we'll get on out of here. And it's a pleasure. And you give me a lot to think about. And I'm an old man, and I try to be progressive, but sometimes I get my pronouns screwed up. And you have no idea how self-conscious I get about that.
It's okay. I'm not mad.
Okay. Because I'll tell you something about mid-50s. I'm noticing this, and other people have noticed this. It's almost like a second puberty, except in reverse. It's like, so I have friends that when they became 50, they were still really cool, and they were with it, and they were up with things, like they were up with the young people.
Right,
and
right.
Around 55, like some of my friends and myself have stayed like, let's be progressive. Let's keep up with things, and these other ones have turned into like, get the hell off my lawn.
Yeah.
Turned into old people. Like it happened in like 2 weeks or something. They went from being a pretty cool person you might have at the barbecue for a beer to, hey kids, get the hell off my lawn,
Right.
And I don't want to be one of those people. And I realize I always think I'm really cutting edge progressive because I went to Union Seminary, but that was like 20 years ago. So I'm I'm an old fart. I've got to catch up again, continuously catch up. But hey, so you have a good evening. I'm going to go play some music now. I got to hustle so I can get over there in time.
Bye.
Bye, B. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.
And that's it. I'm out of here. See ya. I'm going to go play drums. Bye.